a lot of companies don't have the tools they need to be successful.
Salespeople don't have all of the tools that they need to actually be able to do the work that they need, right?
Part of the problem is they don't want a new tool. And the other part of the problem is a lot of companies aren't willing or weren't willing to invest in their people.
I haven't really found very many companies that really understand what that consistency needs to be.
And that has changed drastically, or should have changed drastically over the last couple of years.
Being a salesperson is a hard job.
Hey, welcome back to Sales Made Easy. Once again, this is Tom at Sales Made Easy, bringing you another interview with someone special that I've known for a long time. Brent Montgomery, she was the CEO of a company. She's the CFO of the company, and she brought me in to help them and worked with you for several years there. And she became CEO, and when she became CEO, worked with them again. That company was bought, and she left, and she started her own company now, the Axel Group, right? So interesting, transitioning from running companies to finally stepping out, building your own. So tell me a little bit about, your experience as a CEO dealing with salespeople, and then also right now as your own company dealing with sales and in today's world. Anything you see different, or any advice you can give to other people that are trying to start their own company?
I think that what I find very consistent is that salespeople don't have all of the tools that they need to actually be able to do the work that they need, right? Or whether maximizing or optimizing, right? Continued education. Being a salesperson is a hard job, and so it takes some consistency in all of those things. And I haven't really found very many companies that really understand what that consistency needs to be, right? And so in running other companies and then transitioning to having my own, that was one of the main things between your sales team, a sales strategy, and then of course how does the marketing plan support that. I think a lot of the change that seems to happen nowadays is companies feel like the marketing plan is really the sales team, right? And it just doesn't work that way. You have to throw a lot of money at it to work that way.
Well, you bring up a great point. I mean, think about it. Bren said is a lot of companies and a lot of salespeople don't have the tools they need to be successful. And, as someone that's been in that business of trying to give tools to salespeople, a lot of salespeople, part of the problem is they don't want a new tool. And the other part of the problem is a lot of companies aren't willing or weren't willing to invest in their people and give them the tools. I've had experience with salespeople, CRM, oh my goodness, it's the evil brother. But what have you seen, and is there any advice you can give the salespeople that, have to get into a CRM? I mean, if you're going to be successful at all, you got to get into one. But any advice you can give to them, and maybe what they can do to use HubSpot more as a tool than just as an enemy?
I think if we had to boil it down to like two things, right? One would be on the salesperson side, right? Maximizing my time, right? And then for them as well is I don't want to waste my time, right? So the time that I do have, I want to maximize it with the people that I know are going to eventually be my buyers if they're not already my buyers, right? And then the other side of it, giving them tools to be able to do that, right? Maximize your time, not waste your time. And so there's, if we look at it that way for them, but then on the CRM side, CRMs in the past have been very, very complex, right? And it's been very difficult to make to maximize your time out of it. You feel like you're giving more time to the CRM than you are actually, making the sale. And so it's, having a simplistic setup so that you can easily and quickly understand the flow and what I need to do to help maximize your time is the key, right? And that's what we try to do.
The point is, it's understanding the process. And I think a lot of salespeople are really bought into outcomes. Very few are brought into a process. We get excited, we get thrilled when we make the sale, we close the sale, or we get depressed when we got a sale that didn't close and we thought we was going to. We're so invested in the outcome and not invested in the process. And I think if we get invested in the process, well, the outcomes are going to happen. The more process oriented they are, the more successful they'll be in today's world, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people overcomplicate stuff, right? And so you've got production processes, your service processes, right? Your accounting processes. And then usually, sometimes I think people just think that the word process equals, hey, make this difficult for me. And so then of course they don't really want to adhere to a process, right? It's about quantity sometimes for some salespeople when they don't necessarily realize that, hey, the people you met 2 months ago might actually be the people that you're selling to today. People that you met a year ago might actually be the people you're selling to today. And so I think that sometimes it gets lost.
So true. I mean, I think salespeople got to understand what prospecting is, to me, is sorting out. It's really sorting people that are qualified and not qualified. It's not trying to sell everybody, because if you're doing that, you're wasting so much time. Mm-hmm. But can you sort out the people that really are raising their hands? And that's what a big part of what you do when you're marketing and building that HubSpot and a marketing program for companies.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day, and you would definitely rather spend them with people that are going to appreciate your service and what you're trying to sell or your product, versus trying to talk somebody into it.
Right. So kind of wrapping up, and you told us about tools, about really what marketing and sales. What kind of advice could you give to maybe a small company CEO or an entrepreneur is trying to build their own business? What advice could you give them, or is there 3 or 4 different things you'd say, if you're going to start your own business, or if you've got a small business, here's 3 things you need to focus on?
We look at things in phases, right? Our roadmap, right? And there's 3 sections to our roadmaps, right? It's, when they're prospecting, when they're leads, and then of course when they're customers. And so the most important thing I would say is to identify and then really, dig deep, understand their pain points, understand their requirements on your personas, and try to keep the number small. Sometimes people want, 15 or 20 personas. No, try to keep it, from like a 2, maybe no more than 5. And then in each of those, really dig deep so that you understand who this person is, even to a point of a short story or a statement. It's called I am so that I want, right?
Isn't that what we talk about all the time, right? Is it when you get in front, they don't really care what you do. They only care about their problem. So if all your marketing material, everything you do is talking about you and not focused on that, you're lucky. The only time you're going to get someone is in such dire pain, and you're the first one on the block. But yeah, so great point. And so we think about what Brent's talked to us today is, salesperson, you got to have the tools. Are you giving your people the tools they need? 2, is your marketing and sales going hand in hand? Do they talk to each other? 3, is your marketing focused on people that want to raise their hand, not on everybody? And is your marketing focused on what your buyer is? I am, and I want to, so I can do this, right? Is it focused there, or is it just on you? Because if it's focused on you, you're not going to get people raising their hand. But if it's focused on a very direct person, like their situation where they're at now, you're more likely to get someone raise their hand. So Brent, how can people get a hold of you and your company to find out more about HubSpot and the Axel Group?
Our website is theaxelgroup.com, and our number is on the site, and where you can always reach out to Tom. He knows how to get a hold of me, and look forward to talking to anybody.
Yeah, and I'm lucky because most of my clients use Brent because she's a resource, and I go in and start looking at what's going on. I go, okay, we need Brent in here. I'm kind of lucky that way, but look at theaxelgroup.com or email me at tom@salesmadeeasy, and we can get you in touch with Brent and see where she can help you. So Brent, thanks so much for spending time with us today, and hopefully we'll have you back on and maybe give us some more tips.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
All right.